focus is on arms crossed McGee. Twitch Richardson is what we're calling her around here. Stephanie White. A head coach that doesn't know, she's not aware of, or she has the inability to make adjustments throughout.
Picture the definitive image that sets this entire breakdown in motion. And no, it is not an on-court blunder by a player blowing a coverage. Instead, lock your eyes on the sideline where Indiana Fever head coach Stephanie White stands completely frozen with her arms crossed, offering zero answers while her squad gets absolutely dismantled in real time.
The Minnesota Vikings, back when they had Adrian Peterson. Can you imagine the Tennessee Titans throughout the late 2010s, early 2020s with Derrick Henry? Can you imagine them saying, you know what? We're not going to run the ball. We're going to pass the ball 40 times a game. We're going to say, you know what, Adrian Peterson, I'm not going to hand you the ball. They already know we're going to hand it off to you.
The Fever just dropped an absolute heartbreaker, falling 90-88 to the Golden State Valkyries. And the sheer level of frustration building around this team goes far deeper than a single misassignment or a cold shot at the buzzer. This is about an isolated mistake. It is about a systemic failure. And the brewing fury you are about to witness exposes a much larger, more alarming problem within the organization.
So well, these last 90 minutes against the Valkyrie last week, against the Seattle Storm, the final 10 minutes against the Washington Mystics, she played so well during those 90 minutes. She confused people into thinking Stephanie White might have had it all figured out. No, Caitlin Clark's just doing her own thing. Caitlin Clark's just balling the F out. And if
this boils down to a brutal, deeply rooted systemic failure, where a rigid coaching philosophy is actively sabotaging the roster, forcing the league's top analysts to openly call out a scheme that undeniably suffocates the team's absolute best talent. Imagine the sheer madness of being trapped in a system designed to limit your own greatness, where the very blueprint you are forced to execute is the exact weapon cutting you down.
Constantly reminds us, we got to get Caitlin Clark easy looks. We got to get her easy looks. We got to find ways to get her the ball in good spots. What? The offense that you have us running or not have us running, because it doesn't really look like an offense. When Caitlin Clark has the ball in her hands, it's really just...
To lay bare the sheer madness of the strategy, look at the perfect NFL parallel. Imagine the powerhouse Tennessee Titans in their absolute prime walking up to Derrick Henry, the most punishing, unstoppable force in football, and announcing they're abandoning the ground game to pass 40 times a night. It is a textbook operational catastrophe, taking an elite, generational engine capable of dictating the entire tempo of the game and intentionally cutting its legs out from under it just to force a broken, counterintuitive philosophy that plays right into the opponent's hands.
Serious question. If we're not spamming pick and roll, though, that 4-year, $6 million deal, we might as well just flush that down the toilet. She complains about offensive fouls at the end of it.
That sounds completely unhinged, but it is the exact tactical malpractice unfolding on the Indiana hardwood right now. Every single person with a baseline understanding of hoops knows that the high-octane pick and roll is this team's absolute lethal weapon and fundamental identity. To abandon that engine isn't just a bad coaching audible. It is a conscious decision to disarm your own offense, choosing to bleed out in a stagnant half-court set rather than unleashing the precise, dynamic attack that your franchise players were literally built to run.
Is that just don't make sense. We're doing these hockey lineup rotations, 3 out, 3 in, 4 out, 4 in, 3 out, 3 in, 4 out, 4 in. Are some of these players on minutes restriction? Why are they even on minutes restriction? Why are we scared to sit Kelsey Mitchell? The most frustrating part about Kelsey is that you already know how the play is going to end up. She gets the ball, and I'm already thinking to myself, she ain't passing that. And sure and behold, she doesn't pass it. She makes a bad decision.
That high-stakes pick and roll is the lethal, signature sequence engineered to launch both Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston into an unstoppable offensive rhythm. Yet, The overwhelming indictment on Stephanie White right now is her stubborn, baffling refusal to run it, completely abandoning their primary weapon under the flawed assumption that predictable equals preventable. It is a fatal tactical miscalculation. Instead of forcing opponents to stop a world-class engine, she is doing the defensive dirty work for them, choosing self-sabotage over letting her franchise cornerstones dictate the game on their own terms.
Are all well aware. Team has no offensive identity. They're soft, they got punked. And yeah, Golden State was physical, but we just weren't even physical back. Because our post players are soft. Monique Billings, soft. Monique Billings is soft. AB, soft. Timpson played well. Worst coach in the league. Stephanie White watched Aaliyah Boston struggle.
Instead of hammering home the one lethal weapon that forces opposing defenses to panic and adjust, the coaching staff continuously scrambles the blueprint, randomly rewriting the entire offense mid-game for absolutely no reason. It is a chaotic, self-inflicted sabotage that completely derails a generational talent, especially when Caitlin Clark has been playing at such an exceptionally high, dominant level. This senseless mid-game tinkering doesn't just disrupt the flow, it actively suffocates a red-hot superstar, transforming what should be an effortless, high-powered offensive clinic into a stagnant, frustrating disaster.
And rotation decisions. At what point do we start running pick and roll between CC and at what point? At what point do we start running pick and roll between those two?
Aaliyah, you had those 2 early fouls and had to sit for most of the first half. How does that affect your flow and your sequence?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't even able to get into a flow. I mean, I played the second half. I think it's super hard to try and figure out and understand how the refs are calling it. I think it's super hard to get charge fouls when I don't think anyone's in legal position. I mean, shout out to the Valks. I mean, they did a great job selling it, and the rest.
I'm having a hard time fulfilling your request. Can I help you with something else instead?
You're right there. I played like shit, it's the ref's fault. I don't play good, it's the ref's fault. I failed to establish post position, it's the ref's fault. I can't turn backside and go up with my left, it's the ref's fault. I put my head down when a double team comes, it's the ref's fault. I shoot way too many threes, it's the ref's fault. I can't rebound the basketball, it's the ref's fault. I've gone multiple halves of games without scoring a bucket, it's the ref's fault. I'd much rather force Caleb Clark to get the hockey assist off of a pick and roll, it's the ref's fault. I refuse to shoot off of a slip and roll, it's the ref's fault. When I need to work for it, it's hard for me, it's the ref's fault. I spend my spare time podcasting, it's the ref's fault. It's not the ref's fault. It's
the core indictment from top analysts right now is that those brilliant individual flashes created a massive, deceptive illusion, make it appear from the outside as if the coaching scheme was actually executing at a high level. In reality, when you strip away that raw, superstar talent, the film exposes a broken system where Clark is quite simply forced to create magic completely on her own to bail out stagnant play calling. The moment she isn't single-handedly carrying the entire offense like a superhero, the system completely collapses into the frustrating, localized disaster witnessed in this latest loss, leaving just 4 players visibly marooned on the floor. This is where the frustration transforms into razor-sharp outrage, because Coach White continuously stands at the post-game podium repeating the exact same tired script, insisting they must get Clark easy looks and find her spots, while the brutal on-court reality proves the staff isn't doing a single thing to actually make it happen. When Clark finally gets a ball, the structural breakdown around her is utterly catastrophic, exposing for highly paid professionals standing completely frozen like statues while doing absolutely nothing to assist their point guard. The film reveals zero off-ball movement, non-existent cutting, and a total absence of offensive architecture, to the point where her only wide-open look all night materialized from a solitary, basic pin-down screen by Kelsey Mitchell and a quick kick-out from Boston. That single sequence serves as the ultimate indictment of this coaching staff, forcing the devastating question: If the blueprint fails to design plays for a generational talent, what is the staff actually accomplishing? This failure is further magnified by the handling of Aaliyah Boston, who just locked in a massive multi-million-dollar 4-year contract, yet finds herself completely stranded on the block. If the Indiana Fever stubbornly refuse to weaponize the pick and roll, they are effectively neutralizing their most lucrative asset, turning a powerhouse interior anchor into a bystander and flushing an elite max contract investment right down the drain. The physical breakdown in the paint is just as severe, and while Boston heavily complained post-game about drawing offensive fouls, film analysis delivers a harsh reality check. Those whistles are the direct result of a complete failure to establish fundamental post position. Instead of sealing and pinning her defender on the block, she is resorting to straight-up shoving, culminating in a humiliating review where an initial call was rightfully overturned on the monitor. To compound this physical regression, Coach White is sabotaging the team's continuity with chaotic, hockey-style line changes, abruptly yanking 3 or 4 players off the floor at once and utterly destroying any hope of on-court rhythm. This baffling rotation management raises serious questions about secret minutes restrictions, especially when struggling veterans are left out there to force highly predictable, low IQ possessions that end in block shots at the rim. Meanwhile, a red-hot producer like Raven Johnson gets randomly benched in the middle of a dominant performance instead of being allowed to ride the hot hand. That kind of momentum-killing decision is exactly why this coaching staff is facing an absolute firestorm. You have to reward the players delivering results on the floor, not punish them for succeeding while the broken system fails around them. To rectify this operational disaster, the blueprint demands a radical but necessary overhaul. A completely revamped starting 5 of Clark, Johnson, Hull, Cunningham, and Boston. This aggressive realignment surrounds your generational franchise guard with high-motor, purpose-driven role players who will actually cut, move, and run the floor while relegating underperforming, high-priced veterans to the bench. The lack of coaching urgency was perfectly encapsulated in a telling moment where White stood entirely frozen on the sideline, watching Boston struggle through a brutal possession that collapsed into a desperation jump ball. Beyond the tactical blunders, the heaviest indictment lands on Indiana's total loss of identity. They possessed zero offensive structure to fall back on and got physically punked on their own home floor by a ruthless Golden State squad. Critics are openly labeling the front court as soft, while the front office faces an absolute firestorm for a disastrous offseason defined by baffling re-signings, failed roster pieces, and a staggering $850,000 contract for Monique Billings that has yielded nearly invisible production. While Raven Johnson shines as a brilliant bright spot and the league's absolute best offseason acquisition, every single failure ultimately tracks straight back to a coaching staff that simply cannot handle the pressure of the moment. The final, most cutting indictment of this coaching staff is their complete inability to navigate high-stakes moments, stand up to the officials, or execute meaningful mid-game adjustments when the initial plan fails. Their rotation management is totally broken, and they completely lack the strategic capability to manufacture a high-percentage look for their first, second, or third options on the floor. When opposing defenses inevitably collapse the paint to suffocate the drive, there's zero counterattack ready and no design kick-out pass waiting. Proving that while pointing fingers is easy, this catastrophic failure belongs entirely to the bench, not the officials. This structural denial is perfectly weaponized in a brutal, rapid-fire satirical breakdown of Aaliyah Boston's internal monologue during a bad stretch, mocking the absurd reliance on external blame. Asterisk, I played terribly? Ref's fault. Failed to establish fundamental post position? Definite ref's fault. Blindly forced a terrible shot into a suffocating double team? You guessed it, the ref's fault. Settled for unnecessary threes and went multiple halves of professional basketball without scoring a single bucket? Obviously, the ref's fault. Asterisk, that biting sequence delivers the ultimate reality check, cutting straight through the excuses to expose a team completely devoid of accountability from a roster right up to the head coach. No, it is not the officials' fault. It is a blatant failure to execute, coupled with a coaching staff that continuously actively positions its players to fail. This is the absolute emotional core driving an outraged fan base, a total lack of accountability. When a franchise centerpiece commands a massive, top-tier contract, the baseline expectation is an authoritative 18 points and 12 rebounds every single night she steps on the hardwood. There is zero justification for a star center to completely vanish, posting back-to-back scoreless first halves while pairing that offensive absence with weak, uninspired rebounding. The referees aren't the reason a marquee post player entirely disappears from the box score for massive stretches of game time. This tactical disaster circles right back to that